Today I'm building a fire kit, but it is a very specifically purpose-built fire kit. What do I mean by that? Follow along. I'll show you what I'm doing, what I'm creating, and the reasons why I'm doing what I'm doing. Thank you for joining me here today. What I have is a tin, an empty tin. This tin is a product, it's a leather treatment product, and I used it all up. And I cleaned up the tin. It's nice and clean and proper. And I'm going to use this to build myself a fire kit. Fire kit is something that is not new. Many people use fire kits. Most typically, it'll be a hard-sided case or a very durable nylon bag of some kind, and you would fill it with all kinds of products, such as a ferro rod, matches, stormproof matches, lighter, different accelerants. And when you're out in the outdoors and you're camping, you're going to pull out your fire kit and you're going to decide what you're going to use to light your fire, make your campfire with. And that's not the type of fire kit that I'm doing here today. What I'm doing today, I'm going to designate this tin as a fire lighting product that is specifically for should I be in some kind of dire need of having a fire immediately. I'm talking about I'm wet, I'm cold, you fall into a creek and you need to get a fire going right now to warm yourself off, so you can take off your clothes and wring out your wet clothes, maybe hang it to dry, something like that. You want something that's going to light a fire immediately. Not something where you're going to fiddle around with, oh, what am I going to use today? A stormproof match, or am I going to use a ferro rod? No, you need something that's going to get the job done right now. And I'll be discussing the reasons why I'm creating this kit, and it involves some talk that I've been hearing going around YouTube involving people who set out in the outdoors and they find themselves in some kind of distress, and to the point where people perish. Every year people set out in the outdoors and they're ill prepared and they perish, unfortunately. When I head out in the outdoors, I go prepared, and I have always had multiple sources of ignition with me in various packs and gear that I bring, because in my opinion there's a very fine line between which is more important, fire or shelter. And in the case that you are cold, obviously fire is going to take precedent. So if you were in a northern climate in the winter months, for example, and you are crossing a lake with a snow machine and you get stuck in slush on the lake, now you have to abandon your snow machine and walk off the lake. You may be walking in slush halfway up to your knees for a mile. Guess what? You're freezing cold. And what would be a good lifesaver for you in a situation like that is to have a kit where you are guaranteed to get a fire going right now. First things first, let's decorate the lid. Now, this is not a shameless plug. First of all, I don't care for that, so let's put a channel sticker on here. And this sticker will actually be beneficial for a couple of reasons. Because it's a nice yellow color, it'll stand out in the bottom of a pack. So if I'm looking for this kit in my pack, I can rip open my pack, look down, and you see that yellow in the dark pack, there's no light in there, that yellow should stand out. Help me pick it out quickly so I can get at it. So before we get too involved in the materials I'm going to use, because I'm going to use mostly natural materials. But 100%, if an individual wanted to, you could go onto Amazon and simply type in fire starters, scroll through the list of products, pick out the ones you feel would be beneficial to you, break out your credit card, buy a bunch of these products, put it in a Ziploc bag, throw in a disposable lighter in there with it, and you have yourself a sustainable fire kit. A fire kit that's gonna really save your ass. I have direct access to a lot of wilderness, and when I'm out in the woods, I like to gather certain materials, and there's a lot of materials in the forest that is highly flammable. And once these materials are processed down and prepared properly, they are very, very effective. So most of what I'm going to do here is going to be natural materials. So the first thing I'm thinking about is I'm going to need a lighter. Because as I stated, this kit is not a kit where, oh, I'm going to play Mr. Bushcraft today and make a little fire and make myself a coffee in the woods. No, this is a dire need situation. You need a fire now. So I'm going to put that in here as one product that I'm going to have in my tin. Because this, I'm going to be able to bust this open, grab that lighter, and light what's in my tin. And then that tin can be, either I can remove the materials from the tin and put it inside a pile of wood that I gathered, or actually slide the entire tin underneath a big pile of wood. I certainly want to use some fat wood. What I have here is some fat wood. Not too long ago I did a live stream, and during that live stream I processed down some fat wood, and this is red pine. It is super infused in pine resin. Now the other thing I'm going to be including in here, I'm a little bit on the fence if I'm going to include some accelerant in the way of petroleum jelly. We're all familiar with cotton balls and Vaseline. It's a great option, but I'm not going to use cotton balls and Vaseline simply because in hot weather that stuff kind of oozes, and I don't want it oozing all over the inside of my can, because the can will house a lighter, and I want to keep the lighter dry. But I have something else in my arsenal, and it's this right here. This is chaga. Chaga is a mushroom that grows on both yellow birch and white birch. It is famous for making tea. It's full of medicinal properties. You can research it for yourself on the internet. And I personally make chaga tea. I don't drink it all the time, but I do enjoy chaga tea. But chaga has another property that maybe most folks may not be aware of, and that it is flammable. It's not flammable as it will burst into a lot of flames, but it will smolder. I make my own fire starters, first of all, and in my can here I have some examples. I'm going to pull out some examples of fire starters that I have. I'm definitely going to be including some of these fire starters into my kit. Here's one. This is a cotton pad. It's infused full of paraffin wax and also chaga. If you look closely, all that black material on the surface, that's all chaga. I have another fire starter here that I make, and it is another chaga. It's mostly chaga. I have a recipe that I've developed a long time ago, and this tiny little puck, as small as it is, will burn for in excess of 10 minutes. I've made some other pucks that were a little bit larger. They were in a little paper cup kind of thing. just a little bit larger than this, and my testing concluded that it was burning for upwards of 15 minutes. Let's do a demonstration here. So in my bag of fat wood, the bottom is all full of chips, and when I processed down all this fat wood, I kept all the shavings, because this is all full of fat wood as well. The shavings have fat wood in them, have resin, I should say, and super dry. And if I take a lighter, for example, and I take just a couple of little bits, a couple of curls here, and I show you, this is red pine. I mean, I barely touch that and it lights immediately. This natural material, red pine, super dry, you don't have to work at it to get it going. It just goes. Now, let me show you what happens when you add a little bit of chaga. Let's bring a few more chips of fat wood. Light that guy up. If I put a few pieces of chaga in there like that, and I just let it sit there and do its thing. And once that ember is caught, it doesn't want to turn out. It's really difficult to put it out. I can see that chaga has picked up an ember. And turn out some lights here. And hopefully you will see. See that ember? That's the chaga. Right there. That's the chaga. And you see it's still staying red, glowing red. It won't go out. It really is amazing, and that's why I make my fat wood, or my fire starters, using chaga. Let's see here. So if I light this little stick there, and underneath this little sliver of wood, I got some chaga that is actually infused in paraffin. And you see now the chaga has lit, but that's because there's paraffin. So I broke a little piece of that off of one of my fire starters. So now what I have is a flame that burns continuously. I got one little sliver of red pine. I got a couple of crumbs of chaga, and I've introduced another piece of chaga that's got paraffin wax mixed in it. And now I have something that burns continuously, like a candle. And this will burn for a very long time. Now, why am I doing all this? First of all, it's good to be prepared. You want to be prepared. And I mentioned earlier that I'm noticing something going on YouTube, and I don't know if it's a trend, a new trend going around. But every year there's people that perish in the outdoors. And I've noticed lately there's been some YouTubers that have been talking about how other young YouTubers have been, or at least one anyways, recently went out to do some video by himself, and he ended up perishing out there. And some YouTubers, everybody's sympathetic about it, but I've noticed some YouTubers are talking about, this is what happens when you're unprepared, like myself, when I go and this kind of talk. And I'm kind of annoyed by that, because when you got an individual that uses words like inconsiderate, and there's some language there that is, I'm offended that they use that to describe people that head out in the outdoors ill-prepared. Nobody is born with the automatic knowledge of what to do and how to be properly prepared when you set out on your outdoor adventures. That's why we have rescue teams, and you know, our rescue teams are trained professionals to handle a situation. And the language I'm hearing, I've heard on a few occasions now, is how these people are inconsiderate. Like the people that are going out ill-prepared are inconsiderate because now other people have to risk their lives to go rescue them. Well, you know what? That's the whole point. They get paid to rescue people. They're trained to rescue people, and they take on that job knowing there's an inherent risk, and everybody applauds them for their service. So right off the bat, I disagree with that, and I invite anybody to comment down below what your thoughts are on the whole situation. When I go out in the outdoors, and I'm going to add myself, I'm going to put myself in the mix as a good example. I have well over 40 years experience in the Canadian bush, and I still make mistakes from time to time. I literally do. Obviously, my mistakes have not caused my peril. I'm here, and my mistakes have never caused me to have to be rescued. However, every once in a while, I miscalculate what I'm doing out there in the woods, and I get myself into a little bit of a pickle. I get myself out of the pickle because I go prepared. But things could turn very quickly, and that is one reason why I'm building this kit, is to just accelerate my personal time in the woods so I'm better prepared. I go prepared as it is. I just feel that this is one step at being even more prepared. And if somebody wants to create something like this, I would invite them to do so, and hopefully this video will help you create a kit that will be very beneficial should you need help. Now, let's move on to building our actual kit. Let's look at the direction that I'm taking here. The lighter, for sure. I don't want a ferro rod in here. It's not time to play bushcraft. This is go time kind of kit. My piece of fat wood. Now I'm standing it up because my lid is just about as deep as the container, so if I have material that raises up, I should still be able to snap this together, and that'll give me some room. And then now I'm gonna put in some fire starters in here. My Chaga one are my favorite. Like that. And maybe put one of these guys here. Doesn't matter if I fold them up and mess them all up, because I could always unfold it should I need to use it. Like that. Now I still got some space here, and I'm thinking what I'm going to do is literally grab a handful of chips and just fill the void. All these chips that are full of pine resin. Just stick that in there. Like that. Excellent. Just fill all the voids. So I'm pretty happy with this. I got a whole bunch of accelerants. I know these accelerants will burn continuously for a long time because of my previous experience with these. I'm going to lid that up just like that. And I'm not done, because I got me a nice little fire kit right here. Very simple. But this lid here, this container, I'm not 100% convinced that it is waterproof. And I'm certainly would like to keep this 100% waterproof. Even though the contents of this can will light wet, except maybe the wood chips. The wood chips would take a while to dry off. But the fire starters, if they're wet, they'll light. The fat wood, if I was to scrape that piece of that stick, even if it's wet, if you scrape that, that will light. The lighter, you can easily dry off a disposable lighter and get it to light, right? However, there's no reason why I shouldn't be extra prepared. So I'm going to run a piece of tape along the perimeter of this can. Just like that. And because no self-respecting Canadian will not have hockey tape on hand, that's what I'm going to be using. Unlike, say, for example, 51st state nation. And the tape is also in itself flammable. You can use tape as an accelerant. The glue that's in here, it's all flammable material, so the tape itself can be also used to start a fire. Just like that. Now, if you'd like to see how I create chaga fire starters that will burn for upwards of 15 minutes, click on the card that's on the screen right now, and I'll see you over at that video.